So, excusez-moi. So I do not speak French, and I just about speak English. But the title, Croeso is Welsh for welcome. So I'll give you a little bit of background. I think Roland, we've already, it is Roland? Yes. Spoken, sorry, well, my glasses. I'm also not very good with hearing, and I don't see very well either. So it is perfect. So, as long as I have a good time, I'm happy. I hope you two have a good time. I hope the talk is the right talk, because it's about video feedback, and also it's about student video submissions. And I just wanted to give you a flavour of some of the things that I've been doing in Cardiff myself. So I'm Aled Davies. Aled is quite a common name in Wales. It doesn't have a meaning. It's just Aled. It's not lion. It doesn't mean rain. It's just Aled. So I can't give you any more background than that. But I've managed with our two sons and daughters to actually give them names of Welsh heritage that mean kings and princes and things like that. But I'm plain Aled, and no more than that. But I'm a civil engineer by background. I work mostly in bridges and tall buildings. My research is on thin wall buckling of structures. So when things fail and buckle by furicate under loading, though that's sort of my background. I come from industry and I come from academia. And when I got fed up of academia, I went back to industry. And then I got lured back into academia again. So I have quite a few different perspectives on learning and teaching and just engineering. But I'm currently director of postgraduate teaching in the school, which means I look after the MSc Masters programs across the School of Engineering, which I'll introduce to you in a second. Okay. So I'm going to give a little bit of background, and then I'm going to talk about the video feedback and some of the work that I've been doing on that. Some video submissions, and then hopefully we'll finish in good time for some questions. So just to give you an idea of the School of Engineering at Cardiff, the School of Engineering, we have three main departments. The three departments being, and let me get my laser on. Three main departments being architectural, civil and environmental, where I work and live. And under that, we have quite a few research groups which directly align with civil engineering. I'm meant to be in another meeting, but I cannot be there for good reason. And apologies, I have do not disturb on as well. But we cover a lot of things about digital engineering, urban engineering, geomechanical and structural engineering. We have electrical and electronic engineering as a department, magnetics, high frequency, renewable energy are massive areas, and as well as mechanical and medical engineering as well, with the electronics being, with the mechanical being high value manufacturing, additive manufacturing and robotics especially nowadays. And AI seems to go across everything that we do. And in terms of our other degrees as well, we also have medical engineering that goes across two of the departments as well. So it gives you a little bit of flavour to what we're doing in terms of research and in terms of our degree programmes. I thought I might show to you how and where we are. So we're Cardiff School of Engineering, part of Cardiff University. I don't have time to give you all the background to Cardiff University, but if you're not quite sure where Cardiff is, so this is England. Cardiff is, London is to, the east side of it, and we have this bit sticking out on the side of England, and Ireland is over here. And this is Wales, and Cardiff is at the bottom there, close to the border, with good connections throughout to across Wales, but through to England as well. And we're also the capital city of Wales. But it gives you a flavour. And Cardiff's next to the Bristol Channel, so we have the sea, ports, and so on. And we're really just isolated here. So this is the centre of Cardiff. The big red circle shows where we are in engineering. The smaller circle here is showing where we are in terms of the main college. The university is embedded within the heart of Cardiff. And so all the buildings have just come out onto pavements. You just walk with everyone else between all of the different departments. It's not as nice as here with your campus, which is beautiful, by the way, and obviously lakeside. We have about 1,600 students, 25% of those undergraduate being overseas, and roughly about 150 MSc students, the majority being overseas typically. And so typically in the UK, most of our MSc students are from overseas, not home students. We have about 250 research degree staff.
Home is Wales or home is UK?
Home is UK. Home is UK. We sort of try and behave like one country, although we made up of 4 different countries. We have about 110 academic staff. As I said, we have civil, mechanical, and electrical departments. To give you an idea of how big it is, Cardiff has about 350,000 people. And the main centre here, we can walk across this main centre here quite easily in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So it really is quite a small centre with the main train stations and everything there. So it's a very pleasant city to live in, very multicultural, lots of diversity, lots of people coming in from the valleys above here. So a great mix of people really in Cardiff. Oops, why isn't that allowing me to shift? Here we go. I thought I'd just give you, before I run into my talk, a couple of things to distinguish Wales from England and English. So Wales is the English name for Cymru in Welsh. Wales means foreigners. Oh, yeah, foreigners. Quite strange, but Cymru comes from the Cymric and is the heritage. I thought I might show you the alphabet. You know the English alphabet with all its sort of 26 letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. Believe it or not, we have our own alphabet in Welsh, and we've got even more letters. So we have 29 letters, although there is a little bit of dispute about J being a Welsh letter. It's not meant to be in there, but it's used so often, it's sort of adopted. It makes it difficult because what you'll realise there is that we do not have K, Q, V, X, or Z, which makes explaining to someone what an X-ray is or what a zebra is quite hard. Okay? And like English, we have ABC, and like all your own languages, the Welsh alphabet is slightly different in its pronunciation. So I'll give you A, B, K, D, V, E, V, and so on. And so it's pretty back of the throat, and hopefully not too much spitting. But it is quite a guttural language in that sense. And some basic facts for you. We're around 3 million to 3.5 million people in Wales. We have more castles per square kilometre than anywhere else in Europe. But we are very small and we're quite a rebellious country. So a lot of castles were built to keep us quiet. And we've got the longest place name in Europe. Now I should do some 3T now, shouldn't I? I should get you all to try it.
No, please.
No, no, there is one longer place name in the world, and that's now in New Zealand, which has beaten us. But we're still taking this as being the largest in Europe. So this is a place name of an island, a little part of Wales to the north. Shall I say it to you? So it's Llanfair Pwll Gwyngyll Goger Wyn Robl Llantysilio Gogogoch.
I like the end. Okay.
You should go and see the train station. The sign is longer than the station. So that's just giving you a little bit of Wales. So maybe to come to the reason I'm here, to talk about feedback, and especially video feedback. And what I want to try and explain to you is that what ideally I want to do with students is give them one-to-one feedback. But my biggest problem is I have a class of 150 students. And when I want to give them feedback and I want to do it personally, like I would do in industry, I would sit down and go through their work and explain the problems and some of the things that they could do better. I haven't got the time, and neither do the students. And it takes, and I've tried this, by the way, it takes about 9 hours with only sort of 4 or 5 minutes each. It's quite artificial. The big reason for me doing this was that lots of our staff, when we provide feedback to students, traditional written feedback, well constructed, with feed forward, only about 45% of our students ever read it. We know that because we release it on our learning system and we can monitor who opens it or not. So we know that a vast majority just simply don't engage with the feedback that we have. And so it's not being used by students as part of their learning experience. And it's only accessed when you speak to students is if the marks weren't what they've expected. In most cases, they look at the mark, and if they're happy with the mark, they don't tend to look for the feedback. They don't look at it as being part of their learning. They want us to tell them, why do we lose marks more than anything else? And the other problem I have was that staff become disillusioned with providing feedback. You spend a long time creating feedback for individual students on their submissions, and yet they don't engage. So staff become then disillusioned by that, and also they begin then to give less feedback and less feedback and less feedback because they realize students don't engage with it. And so we get this spiral happening. So I try to move away from feedback just being about what did you do wrong? Where did you lose your marks? I wanted it to be less about the performance and more about them understanding as part of their learning. So I wanted to make sure that you already know that feedback needs to be relevant. I know what I want to say, but I don't always understand what the students want to hear. I want it to be constructive. So many times I write, that was a good piece of work, without explaining why it was good. And so I have to be careful in using the right words and be constructive. I also wanted it to be accessible. I do a lot of work on inclusivity within my own practice and within the university as a whole. And I think this cartoon was quite useful, although it's in terms of an exam. It was about giving everyone the same opportunity, but in reality, it's not the same opportunity. And so it was about looking at feedback being more inclusive and accessible to people, as well as then making sure that it was timely, that it was given back at an appropriate time in terms of that person's learning and development, moving from what they're being assessed on at the moment to what they would be assessed next time. So can video feedback help? Well, we're certainly trying to be building blocks in student learning. And there's certainly a difference in where we were possibly being able to instruct and inform and feedback to people in a face-to-face environment, which would be ideal, but really is quite difficult, to where we are now, where students, and I'm going to not say yourselves, but mostly having screens in front of you or phones or something. It's quite difficult. That social aspect has disappeared, really, and so it's quite hard. But understanding also that students are interacting with feedback and the world in different ways than I did. And so as we were talking earlier on, it's quite, I have to forget what I did and what was good for me, because it's not necessarily what's good for the students. And so, can video feedback help? Well, I found it to be a lot more comprehensive. I could talk to the student. I could show them their work. I could show them what they were doing well, what they needed improvement, because I was showing to them. It wasn't just some writing. I could personalize it to that person. I could talk to them, albeit it's through a video. It's clear because I'm recording it. It can be transcribed, it could be subtitled, it could be changed into so many more accessible means. I think it's engaging because I do change tone now and again. I do wave my arms around a lot. I do point at the screen as if I'm talking to them. And so I hope that they're engaged. And it's accessible because they can, as opposed to a one-to-one, which is finishes, they can look back. They can get that at any time. They can watch it on the way to the university. They can watch it on the way home. They can watch it as the kids have gone to sleep. Whatever it is, it gives them an opportunity to make it more accessible. I think it offers students chances to become more connected. For me, I can offer visual and verbal cues because I'm not just reading written text. I can intone and change what I'm saying. I can emphasize things in different ways that a written text cannot give. I can nuance the understanding. I can give permanence. In a way, I want it to be a mentoring environment where I'm just showing them, telling them how to improve, what they need to do, how they can become better learners for next time, and what they can do if they were doing a similar project, but on a different topic. And I think it reinforces their learning because I'm trying to be that mentor to guide and to push them to improve and to understand that through reflection, they can help their own self-learning. So there's some really great things, I think, in the videos that are far more than just doing it in terms of written text. So I think it helps long-term learning practices as well as improves their performance. So what I normally get from staff especially is, Alid, it must take a lot of time to create a video for every student. So I'm talking 150 students. But 150 students writing good feedback takes time. It's not easy, it's not short. But what I find is that in marking the work, which I still annotate, I still make some notes, I still go through my marking scheme, I tend to find that by collating that together, I can probably deliver a better experience for students in the same time it would have taken me to write a cohesive, coherent feedback to the students. And so I don't think it takes any longer. And I think it gives far more. So it gives far more because I think I give more information. I can show exactly what I'm referring to on the screen. I'll give you an example now in a second. I can actually show to them where they've gone wrong. I can show them. I'm not talking about a sheet of paper where I'm saying what I thought they've done. I'm actually showing them on their own work. And I think it helps inclusivity a great deal because they're not just getting their work being presented, but they're seeing me talking to them. They're seeing me outlining where the issues are. And so it's a far richer environment, I think, for them to get their feedback on. A couple of things, though, that do cause me a problem. I don't know, do you use Panopto? Do you have a video recording? So Panopto is the one that we use in Cardiff, and quite a few universities use Panopto. It's just a video recording system. But what is really irritating for me as staff is that it simply doesn't integrate with our learning system. So I have a system that creates the videos, but it's not linked to the students in any way. And so I spend a little bit more time in that linkage, which is always a nuisance and takes time. And also, I've got no automation. I want to tell students I've given them the feedback. I want to remind them that it's a good idea for them to read that feedback, to view it, to understand it, and even come to see me again. And so I think some reminders or some banners on the system would really help. So these are some examples of what I do. Students are unlucky. Sometimes they will definitely see my face. They will see my face explaining next to a screen when I'm going through their work. The screen, you might just see here some annotations, so I will go through. These are just some snapshots going through. The length of the videos I'll come to in a second, but it gives you a feeling of how you're recording, what I'm looking through, what I'm explaining to students. So they can hear me, they can see me, and at the same time, they can see me annotating and showing what I'm talking about, where in their work I'm discussing that problem. The students love it. The students really appreciate that interaction. I am not saying anything different to what I would have written down, but it's more engaging. And actually, I can say more because I can look at them in a weird way. I can go, I don't know what this is about. They get a lot of that interaction from that feedback. And I've been running this video feedback now for 7 years. And I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think, firstly, the students were getting a better experience. And I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't have the time to do it. And my class is still 150. So it takes a little bit of time, but I'm quite now efficient in what I do. So outcome and advice on this in terms of video feedback. I keep the videos short. No one wants to have me talking to them for 20 minutes, and I don't want to spend 20 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes is ideal. It is more than plenty of time. What's really struck me is the engagement. Before, on my modules, I would only get maybe 40% of my students physically looking at my written feedback. As soon as I send a link saying, here's a video, watch my feedback. Whoa. So now I get over 90% quite regularly watching my feedback. Interestingly, I'm not a bad lecturer. That also means I'm not a good one. But the feed on from students in terms of the feedback has certainly improved my module. So I think module enhancement, I think you tend to call it module evaluation. This is what the students think of the module. It's not just about the feedback, but the whole essence of that. But what has improved definitely is feedback. And so the modules now are achieving really great scores for me, which makes me feel extremely happy. And it makes the university take notice on why is he doing well? What's he doing differently? Why is that happening? Why didn't anyone tell us this was happening? Okay. Students, as I said, really enjoy it. And lastly, do you know, I get less students coming to me, challenging me on the marks that they've been given And I think the best quote I ever got from a student was, "I may not like the mark that you gave me, but I understand why you gave it to me."
Mm.
And I thought, brilliant. I think it might be an epitaph at the end of my career. Absolutely perfect. So in terms of video feedback, the one lesson I have learned is, like everything in life, prepare. Don't just turn up and talk. You need to know what you're going to say. So I always have some notes. I have a marking scheme. I can go through for each student exactly what I want to say. It's easy to press record and talk, but I will be talking for 20 minutes. I need to be quite concise to get the attention of the students. And as I say, keep it short and keep it simple. And it really does help and enrich, I think, the students' learning, because it's not just about me telling them, but them understanding where their weaknesses were, where their strengths were, and how to take that on to the next stage. I have a few minutes where I'm just going to talk about video submissions, if you don't mind. I teach a lot, and I've been around a lot, although I was in Cardiff. So I have travelled a little bit academically and in terms of work, but most of my career has been in and around Cardiff, maybe London, Hong Kong, but a few other places, but not much. And one of the things I really enjoy about working in industry is people explaining to me, young graduate engineers, explain to me what they've done. Why have you done that? Explain to me those calculations. And we in engineering, we love calculations, we love analysis, but we love to understand whether the person who's developed those calculations truly understands them, or whether they have just followed a process of examples without really comprehending what they're doing. So my video submissions are, tell me all about it. What have you done? So just some examples, I'll flick through them quickly. So this is a student design of a canopy structure that we were proposing for them to do as part of the university development. This is a few years old now, but it gives you a flavour of what this student was trying to do. It gives you an idea. We love a plan, we love elevations, we love sketching. It gives us a scale and the scope. We talk about load paths and where forces are going and how things deflect. And so it's really quite engaging. And obviously we love calculations. And part of this part of the video submission is about calculations. I want you to show me your technical competence. Can you do the calculations? Can you sketch to me what you're doing, where things are? Can you show me some hand calculations, or typically nowadays they would be typed calculations following an industrial format? And I would go through maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 pages of this. And over quite a few years, I got the impression from most of this was I would give students in these technical classes worked examples. I would show them the process. I would explain to them how to do it. And really what I was getting back was a regurgitated Alec, giving me what I wanted without really seeing whether they understood what they were doing. So I simply turned this around. I still have the calculations, but rather than the students just present to me the calculations, because the calculations are quite cold, they don't give much of a narrative. Engineering students, for some reason in Cardiff, don't like to talk. They don't like to explain. They just want to show you calcs. They don't want to give that overview. So I thought, actually, why don't I ask them, rather than just present your calcs, I want you to explain to me your calculations. So the same calculations, I now ask them to present it to me in a video. A simple twist. I've tried to make it more authentic. I've tried to replicate what happens in industry. I want to see what their higher thinking skills are, because they don't come out in the calcs. So I'm saying calcs, like calculations, okay? And I don't want them just to be remembering or copying a process and repeating it to me, that regurgitation I said. I want to see whether they've really sparked about what they were trying to do. And some of the issues I put in there, did they appreciate that I've twisted their understanding, that I've moved things around so that that's not restrained anymore, now it's a laterally unrestrained beam, or can I get that from them? And I wasn't. I just had the counts which were right. But did they know it was right? I wanted to make these assessments a little bit more real. So using real problems from industry. I wanted them to have a challenge, something that I hadn't shown them before, something to try and twist their understanding a little bit, not to make it unsolvable, but to make them think. And I wanted them to evaluate. I really wanted them to get that instinct of, actually, am I doing the right thing? Is that answer correct? How could I check it without asking me all the time? So I called it a show and tell. I applied it to a PBL, a problem-based learning module, one of many that I run, and I just turned it into a video assignment. They do exactly the same, but on submission, they now physically go through their submission to me. The show and tell. Tell me what you've done. And that's it. That's all I've done. Why did I pick a video? Oh, and I'm a few minutes long. Sorry about this. Ideally, I would want to meet everyone and go through. But again, I've got 150 students in these classes. I can't sit down and listen to everyone. It would take far too long. So the video becomes a great way for them to tell me what they know. The large student cohorts is my problem. I can't get the time and I can't get the resources to help. The video presentation was just that opportunity. It's one way, unfortunately. They're telling me I could give them video feedback, and I have done video feedback on a video submission, which is quite interesting to try and do to get the timings right, but it has been done. Students present their work, they narrate, they show their faces, and they go through their calculations as if they're explaining it to me live. And I think it enhances the student learning quite efficiently. A couple of responses, which I probably will, I'll read one of them out for you, but I'm sure you will read them before I have a chance. Far more challenging to explain our calculations during a video presentation, but it made me realize why I was doing the work and its implications. It just made the students comprehend more what they were trying to do, because they now had to explain it. So a little bit to finish off. The students evidenced them learning outcomes exactly in the same way they did before, but they developed some more skills. Communication was a given, yeah. But critical thinking, actually tried to convey what they'd done, because they couldn't tell me, I've just followed the example you gave me, Alit. Yeah, that's not critical thinking, that's regurgitating. And some creativity, because it was cognitively challenging. I changed some things for them. They had to rethink what they were learning. They appreciated that the video submission gave them much more scope to think about what they were doing. And I asked the students still to keep those videos short, which was great for me, because actually I could listen to more videos in a shorter time than reading through 40, 50-page calculation sheets. So it made life for me a lot easier as well. Students did enjoy it. I say did enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure the students did, but the students got more out of it, I think. And I think it's worth trying. Maybe you do it already. And I think the benefits for students are fantastic. if only to get them to think.